Hello and welcome back, and today I'm going to reveal what each character did before the fall in the Walking Dead universe, and I'll only be talking about the Walking Dead season 1 to 3 and all the characters introduced in those seasons. So this video does well, I will continue this series and do season 4, 5, 6 and so on. So let's jump right into this with Rick Grimes and Shane Walsh were both deputy sheriffs in King County Police. We then have Daryl, who is unemployed and never actually had a job before the fall, other than sometimes helping out his brother Merle in dealing drugs. Merle Dixon is a drug dealer, as I just mentioned, and he is an ex-Marine. Glenn Rhee is a pizza delivery guy, and that's how he was able to get around Atlanta so easily. And moving on to Andrea, who is a civil rights attorney. Carol and Laurie were both stay-at-home mums, and Amy, Andrea's sister, was a college student. And next is Jim, who was an auto mechanic, and Jackie was a zoning department worker. We then have T-Dog, who used to play college football, but is a bus driver for his church. And next is Dale, who was a retired car salesman. And finally, we have Dr. Jenner, who is a CDC scientist, and he is the final character we have a confirmed job role for before the fall. And moving on to characters we can guess about, and this section is just Morgan from season 1, and he is most likely an auto mechanic. We have never got confirmation what his job is, but looking at all his actions and what he talks about throughout both Fear and The Walking Dead, it seems like he is probably an auto mechanic or a welder, and I'm leaning more towards an auto mechanic because he mentions about fixing up things like trucks, lorries and cars quite a lot in Fear especially, so that's what I'm going to put as Morgan for this video. And move on to characters we have no clue what they're doing, and that is Morales, and we don't even know his first name. I just found out Morales' last name is Morales, that's not his first name. Next we have Miranda Morales, which is Morales' wife clearly, and Ed Peltier. We don't even know what he did, however we know he didn't go to college and didn't even finish school. And finally Jenny, Morgan's wife, which we actually only ever see as a walker and not actually as a human. And finally, the final section are the children we get introduced in season 1. That is Carl, Sophia, Elika, Lewis, and Dwayne. These are all children, so they're obviously all students. Now moving on to season 2, and we meet Herschel, who is a veterinarian, Maggie is a college student, and Beth is a high school student. There is Patricia, which is a veterinary assistant to Herschel, and her husband Otis, who is the Green family farmhand. And then there is Jimmy, who is also a farmhand, but also a high school student and Beth's high school boyfriend. And finally, we have Randall, who we can only speculate about, but because of what he said in 18 Miles Out that he knows Maggie and went to school with her, we can assume he is either unemployed or also a college student by the time of the fall. And finally, let's look at season 3. And the governor was a middle management employee, and that's all we know about him before the fall. Tyrese was an NFL player, and Sasha was a firefighter down in Florida. Next, there is Milton, who was a scientist, and Caesar was a coach. Move on to characters that we just do not know what they did, and most of the characters in season 3 we actually don't know what they did. And first of all, Michonne, and this is a shocker, because in the comics, Michonne is a lawyer. However, in the show, it seems like they didn't adapt that as Michonne's backstory, as she has a one son, not 2 daughters, and all we know about her backstory is that she had a son and a boyfriend, so she could be a stay-at-home mum, or she could still be a lawyer like in the comics, but they never told us. We then have Champert, which is one of the governor's right-hand men, but we don't know anything about it. Moving on to Tyrese's old group, and that's Alan, Donna and Ben, which we know nothing about. Ben is Donna and Alan's son, so he could be a student before the fall. Now finally, the prisoners, we have Thomas, Big Tiny, Oscar, Axel, and Andrew. And most of them are a mystery outside of Oscar and Axel. We know that Oscar was done for breaking and entry, and that is his crime, and he worked as a generator operator for the West Georgia Correctional Facility. And finally, Axel was done for armed robbery and worked as a motorcycle mechanic. And those are all the characters that we know of with jobs. And do you think I missed anyone from the first 3 seasons of The Walking Dead? And this is everything today, so please tell me down below, would you want me to go on and do maybe the next 3 seasons, or do more characters from The Walking Dead and what their jobs could be. I'd like to know all your thoughts down in the comments. But this is it for me today. Let me know if I missed anyone. Peace out. I'll see you later.